Links to join channel here on subscribe. So thank you everyone who is supporting that computing fund. So this is from Pirates and Princess, which is the Clownfish TV, their blog site where they focus pretty much on Disney, and I guess they must live next to Disney, or and like they review the foods and the drinks and all this kind of Disney stuff, which sounds fun. If they're paying you to do it, like I'm not a fan of Disney, but if someone's paying you to go places and review stuff, I think I'd be on board with that. So is Disney's Strange World being set up to fail? Yeah, absolutely. Disney, yes, Disney is very strange. Disney is not the Disney that you remember from the 80s and 90s. Not even if that was before your time, but you've seen the shows, well-worn VHS tapes from the that period was kind of the peak of Disney. Like 1990, I would say they were just on top of the world. They were churning out movies left and right. I guess it was just DVD time, and every home had that, like the electronic Disney babysitter, because you knew you could trust it. It's like people at the time go, oh, there's like images in the clouds in the background. Not really. You'd had to look really really hard to find those kind of like hidden messages, and it's like subliminal programming. Not when it's that subliminal. I mean, not everything's a conspiracy theory. Most of those shows were pretty well. Oh, or they did the what is the devil horns, the hand signal, the pinky and the index finger or something like that. It's like that's just a hand signal. It's not going to summon the devil. It's just a Disney animator being cute. Anyway, I mean, not everything is a bizarro conspiracy theory, because the stuff they do out in front of you is bad enough to focus on. Like, don't overlook the stuff they're actually doing right in front of you. Like, what are they doing to kids right now today? It's like you don't have to focus on the devil horns hand signal. It's like it's not some esoteric, bizarre conspiracy theory. Usually, they're pretty above board about what the stuff they're doing to kids. Literally, right now, the like you. Oh, please, dear Lord, take me back to 1990, like shitty electronic music and the Matrix movie. That was 99. Was the first Matrix movie. It's like that was a good period of time. Someone said like the peak period was the end of the Cold War, 88, 89 to 9/11. So it's like that was a 10-year period, mostly under Clinton, I think, where things were swinging along in high gear. There was a lot of hope. The fall of Berlin Wall, and then 9/11 came. Don't say anything in the comments. I know you want to. Just bite your tongue. I know. I know. I know. And that was like before the fall of the Cold War, people of our generation feared nuclear annihilation. Some of us literally have PTSD from thinking that the world was gonna end in nuclear hellfire. Remember that book On the Beach? And then you had the fall of Cold War, and you're like, oh my God, there's hope for a new future. And then 9/11, and then things took another darker turn. Like, oh, that was just one 10-year period, and in a long time period. It's like things are going to be dark for a long time, and things were dark before that. This video took a kind of a dark turn. Talk about Disney animation. Oh well. So if I get a computer, I'd probably be editing these little gems out. So is Disney deliberately nuking animation to focus on Marvel? It's like it doesn't matter if they focus on Marvel. They used to be known for animation, right? It doesn't matter if they focus on Marvel or animation. It's like it's still just going to be woke, cancerous propaganda. If they want to go the direction of Marvel, whatever. So what happened? New Disney animation that nobody heard of, which is a weird way to sell a film by not advertising it. No, that's not. It's if a movie costs $100 million, the advertising can cost some appreciable amount of that. Sometimes it might even cost even more. I think sometimes it can cost literally more than 100% of the movie itself, because people got to know about the movie. You got to get people on board with it, and it's a gamble for them. They figure like, okay, we spend an equal amount of the advertising, but we'll get people in the door, and once we get people in the door, it spreads by word of mouth, social media. But ultimately, you have to make a good product. You can't make Bros spend like $22 million on Bros, and then spend $30 million on advertising, and then it comes in the door like, oh hey, we're 5 million. Oh, we're screwed, aren't we? Yeah, yeah. You made the most unwatchable movie with the most unlikable characters. So no, you can't make an animation that they spend. I don't know how much they spend on this, but animation is not as cheap as it used to be back in the day. Animation is like over $100 million. I mean, it's the cost of a full movie, or even more. I think on what was that last one they did with Chris Evans? I think that was like Lightyear. Wow, that was like a $200 million animation movie or something, which just sounds freaking like. Isn't the point of computers to make things cheaper? It's like no, we just spend more on the computers. It's like, yeah, CGI is still not there yet. I know people think it is, but it's like it wasn't there when Disney, Lucas, did the thing in '99, and then I'm like, it's still not there right now. You look at this, you look at movies, and you're like, yeah, I know they're in a green room. I can just see the green room. It's like it's just the physics of it aren't just your subconscious mind looks at it and you're like, this just why are you doing this? Everything. I'm trying to say everything sucks now. Anyway, you got to advertise the film. So for the this movie was going to bomb anyway for the simple reason, simple reason of this. So this kind of thing. So Leslie Headland. So we're leaving money on the table by not trying to sell to everyone. It's like that's not how human tribalism works. It might not be politically correct, but you know when you're dealing with money, you don't want political correctness. You just want the truth. Except for Disney. Disney's in a different space. So purse puppies don't sell. Again, not PC to say that. And I almost said diversity doesn't sell. And that's not quite true either. And the left hears that and they lose their mind, and then the right might hear that and think you're cucking. It's not. Don't get me wrong. I think diversity is way, way overrated, of course, but it's not. There is a middle ground to try to market to the because this is marketing. This is sales. This isn't. It shouldn't be social reengineering, which it is. You know, cultural Bolshevism. But if you're taking it like just as a marketing tool, you want to plot a line to get the biggest return on investment. And there's a way to do that. It's like what has historically been done in movies and comics is you appeal to the biggest percentage of the population and then you throw in sidekick characters. But that is not the Marvel Disney way, as Leslie Headland has pointed out. We're gonna sell to everyone but European characters. It's like so by trying to chase this new audience, is the old audience going to come with you? Oh, why wouldn't they? Unless they're literally bigoted Hugo Boss types. Yeah, but you know, like people kind of get the vibe of what you're going. They're getting this vibe that you don't like them, and they're like half your total market audience is this group of people that is quickly becoming apparent that you seem to hate. So why would they be on board with a company that hates them making movies that show them as like inept, incompetent soy boys, and also simultaneously super intelligent, malicious, cruel, stupid. It's like none of it makes sense. It just people kind of get the vibe like you just really hate this one group of people. Like, did you think people were not gonna notice? So it's not exactly that diversity doesn't sell. It's like there is a middle ground. It's that liberals treat Pox characters with kid gloves, so they're already at the end of their character arc at the beginning of the story. The worst example I saw was with the Witches remake, came out like a couple of years ago with Anne Hathaway or something. They got mad because the Witches had like 3 fingers and it was a disability or something like that. It's like, yeah, that's just pay me attention on social media. But what they did was they swapped out one of the characters, of course, or the main characters, of course they race swapped him. And they turned him into a Mary Sue, where you had you had 3 little children who were on this mission, and the 2 characters were people of the light, fair skin, and the one character was a Pox purse puppy, but every puzzle was solved by him. It was to the point of if you once you notice it, you're like, wait, these other 2 characters aren't doing anything in the show. There's a where the little girl was gonna solve something, and the little Pox boy runs up and goes, I can do it. And then you watch the movie, you realize, wait a minute, these two Euro sidekicks didn't actually do anything. Where in the book, in the original movie, they all worked together to solve these problems, and they all had their strengths and weaknesses. But in the Disney, or the I don't know who did the remake, the Anne Hathaway remake, probably Disney. It's just this little purse puppy kid did everything himself, and the two other kids were just there to be there. And I was like, it's not a fun movie when it's a movie about teamwork, but only one character does it, and you're like, oh, okay, so why don't you swap this out? Have like the blonde haired kid do everything? Oh, because Twitter would lose their freaking mind over it. It's like people don't lose their mind over a Pox kid being a purse puppy, but they just don't watch the movie, which is where you are now with Hollywood. So what people have learned is a stimulus response. Where with the if then statements, they know that if they see a Pox character, then they will be Mary Sue's, because the correlation is about 100%. If you see 10 movies that follow that format, you're not going to bother seeing the 11th movie. Not only is Disney, Warner Brothers, and all the mainstream media, like they're on the same page. By that time, Hollywood is over, and you slowly come to that realization, like, oh, Hollywood in its entirety is not going to sell the customer what they want, which is what puts it very simply. And it's not fair to the actors or the characters to be trapped by the soft bigotry of lowered expectations. It doesn't show anyone's range as an actor if you are a complete character. It's like on your arrival, you're complete simply because the liberal writers, usually these, far left wing whack job writers, are scared to write a nuanced character because they know they'd be destroyed by social media. It's not just that, it's that you're writing for a company that doesn't have your back. Like, there's no company in America that's on the left that will have anyone's back. So everything is, they will err on the side of wokeness, and it makes the shows that you see within the past 10 years, 5 to 10 years, they're freaking horrible because the writers are terrified of not just getting fired off the projects. You're like, hey, I just wrote what the director told me to wrote, and no, you're immediately fired. It's like, wait, you're not going to have my back for doing what you told? I thought we're on the same team. No, there's no loyalty at all. People learn that, so they just write like they write the wokest characters imaginable, and even if it doesn't sell, it doesn't fall on them. It's like you just do what you're told, and it's just CYA the whole time. I totally get that. And it's like if the industry, if Disney fails in 10 or 15 years, it's like by that time it doesn't matter. You'll be moved on to something else. So you just kind of delay you being the target of an internet hate mob by just making the Purse Puppy Pox characters just over the top Mary Sue characters, and just every stupid incompetent character is going to have blonde hair. It's like, because the blonde hair people don't hold any power. They can't get you fired. They're not going to dox you. They're not going to call the banks and have the Bank of America, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo cancel your accounts. They hold no power in Hollywood. And there's been a couple of interviews that have kind of openly said that. So it's like, it is what it is. You can make these shows. You just get paid CYA. And if the company literally, if like Amazon Video fails, or the Disney animation fails in 10 years, it's like, it's not on you. You've moved on to somewhere else. It's like, it sucks. But I mean, even for the actors, like if you're a Pox actor, you're like, I want to act. I really want to show a range of the character and my acting development. It's like, no, you're a complete character. You're Mary Sue. There's no growth. There's no upward growth for you because you're pretty much already at the apex of your character development. But that doesn't really showcase my acting skills if there's no range for me to grow through. Yep. The only way to show that would be if Pox people wrote their own Pox characters, their own Pox movies. That would be the only way to show a range of character development. And it's like, it's weird. Hollywood doesn't really. Hey, Wakanda, it's our movie. Is it really your movie? Don't say anything in the comments. Just really. So anyway, Disney used to be known as a family-friendly animation company, which they did very well in the 80s and 90s. That ship has sailed. It's mask off. It's Marxist propaganda. They've gotten woke, and suddenly Disney is not the company it was anymore. It used to be a cash cow. Like in the 80s and 90s, they were churning out movies in the movie theater, and also like home, and then the sequels would be like DVD only sequels. It's like those are still cash cows. Disney is trying to sell shows the customer doesn't want. Like that one sentence, Hollywood is trying to sell shows that the customer doesn't want. It's not, people aren't fans, they're customers. You got to think of people as customers. Getting people to listen to you for free is one thing. It's actually not that hard. Getting people to pay you is an order of magnitude harder. But thanks to everyone who has donated to me. But in the terms of Disney, it's like, that's what you're a business. You're a multi-billion-dollar business, and suddenly you're finding out that people don't want to support the company when they know they're not appreciated. And by now, it's not just Disney. It's Hollywood in general. Like, Hollywood has an issue with the basic, the general audience. Like, this is Hollywood's not just Hollywood. They're pushing a narrative here, and like people are kind of awakening to that. People just want 80s and 90s Disney. Making woke films nerfs them. It's a soft, squishy toy, like it's a football, but it's soft and squishy for kids to play with. It means it's like it's safe, it's boring. Where stories had a little bit of spice to them. I think in Aladdin they had lyrics to one of the songs. And the lyrics were, a little bit spicy, but it brought sharp edge and life to the show. It's like, oh, we're going to fix those lyrics. It's like, yeah, we're going to set a movie set in that warm, sandy place. It's like, the next time they do that, they're going to have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. Like, oh, he'll be the bad guy. It's like, how far? Once you notice them stretching for the stuff God, there was some movie. It was set in China, and I thought, I liked this movie, and I go, oh, I bet you I know what they're going to do. I bet you I know what they're going to do. And what they did was they had like an Englishman who was running around China being evil, and all the Chinese people had to team up and stop the Englishman. It's like, yeah, I knew it would be something like that, because you're just not going to make the Chinese guy the antagonist in their own show. I mentioned that because I saw a South Korean horror movie a long time ago about like pollutants going in the water causing mutations, and it was an okay movie, lower budget movie, I guess, and and they used a German scientist who's in South Korea, who's secretly in control of the South Korean lab, who's poisoning the waters. And you watch this movie, and to an outsider watching this movie, you go, "This is insane." The movie's set in South Korea. It's all South Korean people, and it's a decent movie. But you put a German scientist in the movie because you needed a bad guy, and the South Koreans wouldn't make a South Korean their bad guy, so they put like a blonde guy in the movie. And if you watch a movie, you're like, this is nuts. But then once you notice it, like once you notice it never you never unnotice. I guess I should have said it for longer than 10 minutes. Screen timeout. Anyway, yeah, I get the your boy Zach cough. Yeah, this doesn't sell to anyone. Leslie Headland said, "We're leaving money on the table." Don't get me wrong, the sets, everything looks cool. Sci-fi setting, everything looks cool. Except that you look at the girl on the far left, who's this big beefy. Obviously, she's a woman who enjoys other women. The shaved side of the heads. People aren't on board with that. You don't want your kids to see that. And then the Tupac's purse puppies up front, they're going to be Mary Sue's. They can do no wrong. Like they'll be super smart. They'll be the Shuri character where they're all super geniuses and they have to talk down to who's the Incredible Hulk character, who's also super genius. Like all these, there's a lot of super geniuses in the Marvel universe. It's like, oh, but Shuri has to talk down to these other guys who are, at the peak of big brains. That's weird. That's weird. Do the white guys talk down to other people like that? Do they talk down to Pox people like that? Maybe just don't treat people like that. Like you don't need to elevate characters. You don't need to elevate the Pox characters by putting down the people of the light characters. I mean, that's so on the nose. It's touching the brain and. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, don't say anything in the comments. I know, just bite your tongue. I know it's tough. I know it's tough. But anyway, like, comment, subscribe. See you guys on the next episode.